Hello, friends. When you start thinking about living by faith, one of the biggest expenses is a place to live. Do I rent? Do I buy? How do I obtain housing without state documents? If you are following Christ's command to sell all that you have, where are you going to find shelter? Are you supposed to be homeless? Do you need to rely on friends and relatives in the system? Is surfing from couch to couch your new lifestyle? Surely there must be a better way. Today we are sharing how other followers of Christ find housing. Foxes have dens, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. That's at Luke 9:58. Yes, we are of the same status as our Master. We have no guaranteed place to live, no continuing city. We look for another city whose builder and maker is God. If you're trying to find housing in the conventional way, you'll find many doors closed. You can't pass a background check or prove you're a citizen of the world. Therefore, most landlords won't rent to you. You can't buy a house without numbers from the system. And you wouldn't have the funds anyway. So where does a poor Kingdom of Heaven citizen live? Here's a few examples of how God provides for kingdom citizens and how He can provide for you as you look to Him for your every need. Number 1. Living full-time in an RV. These include motorhomes, campers, fifth wheels, vans, and travel trailers. The advantage to living on wheels is that you can quickly go wherever Christ calls you. If you are persecuted in one place, you can flee to another. If you have a smaller RV or van, you can also park inconspicuously in a variety of locations, in and out of the city, without drawing attention. There are free campsites around the country on public lands. The American West has many acres of land where you can boondock. Boondocking is camping without any hookups for electricity, water, or sewer. But don't worry, you can provide your own utilities. For electricity, suitcase-style solar power units can be quickly set up and then folded away when you move to your next location. A composting toilet provides an alternative when water is not available. And the internet can be accessed using a smartphone. You can avoid heating and cooling expenses by traveling south in the winter and north in the summer. This is inexpensive living, going where you are called and living close to God's creation. Nature is very healing. As you move about in your RV, you will find lost and hurting people who need to hear the gospel of the kingdom. There are also state and county parks where you can camp for a small fee. These parks are available during the summer months, but may close for the winter. Lloyd, after losing his wife, spent the summer in a travel trailer seeking to heal from his grief. He rented a space for his travel trailer, moving it every 2 weeks to another state park just a little further down the road. We parked our travel trailer at a beautiful private wooded park along the river. We paid a modest yearly rate, which also gave us access to running water and restrooms. Number 2, tent living. This works in the summer in some climates, but can also be done in the winter in southern climates. Our daughter spent 4 months living in a tent with her husband and children. The tent looked ordinary from the outside, but the inside housed everything they needed, including a computer station, drawers, beds, and even a crib. They all enjoyed the adventure, and she even gave birth to one of her children while tenting. 4 months without paying rent allowed them to get out of debt and back on their feet again. Number 3, caregiver. Live with an elderly or ill individual. You serve meals, do light housekeeping, and help with their daily activities in exchange for a place to live. Mary took care of her bedridden dad for 2 years until he passed away. She was able to not only help with his physical needs, but she also ministered to his spiritual needs, showing him the teachings of Jesus. They grew very close. Now she's taking care of an elderly disabled woman. There is much need for this kind of loving help. Not everyone can afford to pay for a caregiver in their home, but when you provide that caregiving in exchange for board and room, this opens a door for those who could not afford to pay a caregiver. Mary also receives a small stipend that gives her some pocket change for personal use. Dan is also a caregiver, but he is only needed at night. Other caregivers take care of Steve during the day. Dan also receives board and room for his services. He cooks the evening meal and socializes and encourages Steve, who is frail and frightened to be left alone at night. During the day, Dan gardens and is free to help others as he is led. Number 4. Share a house. Get together with others of like mind and share one house. James was living in a motorhome with his growing family. One day his elderly mom called and asked him to come live with them on the farm and take over the chores. Now his children are raising chickens and riding horses with lots of room to roam. James' parents are able to enjoy their senior year with their grandchildren, and James shares a large farmhouse with no rent payments. Art and his wife were in their 70s when they were awakened to living by faith. They were just getting started when Alice died suddenly. Art was heartbroken and knew nothing about cooking meals or laundry or housework. He soon learned his neighbor had suffered a massive stroke, leaving his left side paralyzed. Art went over to help do some lifting and lawn care. His neighbor's wife gratefully shared meals with Art and did his laundry. As they helped each other, they all began healing. Soon Art realized he didn't need his house anymore. He sold it and moved into his neighbor's spare bedroom. Both Art and his neighbors suffered devastating losses, but by helping each other, their pain was eased. Zachary's marriage was in trouble from meddling in-laws. He heard the call to forsake his old life and live by faith. The family sold their possessions and headed down the road in an old beater car, not knowing where they were going. Their gas ran out 4 hours later in front of a garden supply store. The owner heard of Zach's newfound faith and offered him a rustic cabin. Zach and his wife, plus their baby and toddler, prospered that summer without electricity or running water and no rent. This was just the healing they needed to prepare them for the next chapter in their ministry. Number 5. Live in an extra room. Be a blessing and companion to an elderly or sick individual or couple and live in their spare bedroom. Michael loves cooking and ran a Kingdom catering service specializing in traditional foods. He met a woman in a wheelchair who had been severely injured in an automobile accident. She was told she would never walk again. However, she believed if someone would cook her nutrient-dense meals, she would heal. Michael, who needed a place to stay, took on the challenge of cooking for her and her family. They gave him the guest bedroom. He had the advantage of sharing their happy family life and watching his client learn to walk again. After a year of his cooking, she was healed and able to take over her household duties again, and Michael moved on to help others. Number 6. House sitting. Another alternative is to live in someone's house while they are on an extended vacation. Feed their pets and plants, and maintain their home in exchange for a place to live. Sarah started off house sitting for a retired couple, and now she usually goes from one house sitting position to the next one seamlessly. Her clients are typically retired couples who go on cruises or explore Europe. Word of mouth is her only advertising. Number 7. Caretake property. Sometimes people buy property as an investment or with the hope of someday living on the property when they retire. Meanwhile, they need someone to watch over the land. Caleb caretakes a ranch for a couple who bought the acreage with the hope of retiring there. He maintains the ranch without the obligations of owning it. He maintains a large garden and chickens and has acquired a couple horses to ride. The property is an outpost for his writing ministry. Farming can be a struggle in these economic times. Some farmers not only farm their own land, but rent additional farm acreage. They need someone to caretake the farm rental property to prevent it from being vandalized. When a farmer needs land caretaken, having a recreational vehicle that you can park on the acreage is definitely an asset. You may be able to trade a place to park your RV in exchange for caretaking. We caretook a farm for John, the owner, who made extended trips to Panama. When he learned we had abruptly become homeless, he invited us to come live with him. We did some light farm work and helped with some of his expenses. In return, our staff was provided with land to park our motorhomes and trailers. The church offices and radio broadcasting studio were in converted school buses. We shared home-cooked meals with this generous man who had spent 5 years in prison. Conversations were always lively when he invited his old prison buddies to dinner. We had the rare opportunity to entertain bank robbers, murderers, and other notorious characters who often had ears to hear the kingdom message. Sometimes there are opportunities to caretake summer camps or youth camps. We caretook a deaf camp and were able to use their showers and restrooms, which was a big plus since our travel trailer had no bathroom. Previously, as volunteers, we learned to sign and took deaf children on a backpacking trip. They were appreciative of our willingness to help their community. Since we were already well known to the camp overseers, when the caretaking position opened, we filled it without needing further documentation or background checks. When we caretook 70 wooded acres, we lived off the grid in a travel trailer, using a Honda gas generator for electricity, a wood stove for heat, and spring water for drinking. We used outdoor wireless antennas to provide long-distance, line-of-sight internet. We had everything we needed to run a ministry in a rustic environment. We are seekers of truth and givers of love. As we obey, He will lead us to the place He wants us to be. It may be a short-term or a long-term arrangement, so be ready to move at any time. Our lives are not our own. We are in His hands. If you are still in the system trying to imagine this life while having both feet planted in the world, it will seem impossibly difficult. You are budgeting for all the things that are necessities to you now. But for simple kingdom living, you'd be surprised how little you really need. Take a scenario where you are caregiving in someone's home, or you are living in an RV caretaking a piece of property. Your rent is being provided in exchange for your services. You can grow a large garden for food or pick up free food at church food pantries. Free clothing is also available at clothing exchanges. Ask around locally. If you caretake in exchange for a place to stay, rent, food, and clothing won't cost you much, if anything. Transportation is another expense. You may be able to walk or bicycle around town and eliminate car ownership, or you may receive donations from helping people that covers the cost of operating a car. It's difficult to live without any source of funds. You will probably need a phone, internet, and electricity, but God knows your needs and He can find resources to meet them. And the cost of these utilities is far less than most people spend each month on rent, food, clothing, entertainment, and credit cards. Can you taste the freedom that life in the kingdom provides? Do you really want to waste your years working for money and struggling to meet expenses? Christ has a better offer. Work in His kingdom and let Him take care of your needs. There are many ways to obtain food, clothing, and shelter without having to work a 9-to-5 job. In fact, Jesus tells us not to work for the things that perish. He says, "Do not work for food that spoils, but for food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you." John 6:27. Open your door and step outside. You won't need to go far to find someone who is hurting, someone needing your loving help. Put out of your mind that you need to charge for your services. Love isn't purchased. Keep money out of the equation. See the need and do what you can to help. His Spirit goes before you and will be your guide. You can obtain life's essentials without directly making money. Money's actually the enemy. The focus is on helping others. For instance, we helped the deaf community because we loved them. Later, they provided us with a place to park our travel trailer. No money was exchanged. Before you get too excited, don't forget to count the cost. You don't want to get started on this great adventure in the kingdom and then shrink back because you miss the comfort and security of Egypt. Yes, you will be hated by all men for your allegiance to Christ. That includes your dear loved ones, who may never want any more to do with the one they call the religious fanatic. You will daily bear the cross of not fitting into society. Financial transactions are difficult as we are increasingly shut out from obtaining bank accounts and debit cards. Even cashing money orders is difficult. The mark of the beast is at hand. You will be persecuted, probably jailed, and may lose what few possessions you have. You won't have insurance or other worldly schemes to fall back on during tough times. And yet, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Psalm 46:1. We not only survive, but thrive, even though many doors are closed to us. This testifies to the power and grace of our God. All glory to the Most High. The kingdom life is not one of outward success. You will baffle most people, but by your kindness and love, hearts are softened. The nearness of Christ as we go about His business is a big perk. There is much joy and peace in following the truth, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. He that loveth his life shall lose it, and he that hateth his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. John 12:25. If any man serve me, let him follow me, and where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Father honor. John 12:25-26. For more information on food and clothing alternatives, see our video, Food and Clothing, provided by God. Christ's peace and blessings to you all.
Wake up and repent!